All right, Shalom. You reached the He Prayed channel. My name is Azim Awad. But first and foremost, I want to say, Call Halayim, Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Harachakwadash. Double honors to the elect apostles and prophets of Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, which is great millstone, who rule well, and where I learned this truth from. Salutations to the Bakiyar, the elect, the 144,000, that's 12,000 men from each of the 12 tribes of Israel. 12 tribes of Israel consist of you so-called blacks, Latinos, and indigenous of America. 144,000 being the governing body within the one-third. The rest of the one-third comprises of elect men, women, and children. Shalom to the Israelites scattered due to the diaspora and also the triangular trade. So our people come looking like different ethnicities, having various complexions. So it's not a black thing. We're not the black Hebrew Israelites. We're just Hebrew Israelites. Shalom to those that die in this truth. Says the dead should be raised up first. Those that will be accompanying Yahweh Shah on his return, including our king, King Mashah, who is King David. And as always, it's an honor and privilege, honor and blessing to continue to do this work. The water Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shah Ba'ashem Harachakwadash for answering my prayers and permitting me to do such. Baba Kashah Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shah Ba'ashem Harachakwadash. Allow this to be an edifying lesson to at least one member of the elect. So this video is inspired by Deacon Jackoff. Came across my feed on Instagram, and it reminded me of this scripture right here. So without further ado, I'm gonna go ahead and get into it because I'm a little pressed for time. This is St. Mark chapter 8, verse 36. For what shall it profit a man if he shall gain the whole world? Right, so we already know these individuals and his ilk, they already took the bag, man. They was gripping their ankles on the casting couch just to sign some papers, just to receive a bag. They wanted to sell out. They wanted to prosper. They wanted to be significant in this world, man. Me personally, I don't give a shit about none of that, man. I ain't gonna be moved by no bribes or threats or money or wishing death. I'm not gonna be moved by that. And obviously, because Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai has kept me in his spirit, and even if I did or do try to go back into the world, he always flicks the the lighter back on. That burning sensation that makes you want to do the work, man. So I don't understand how you niggas just can't pray. Why don't you just pray for certain things that you need, man? Maybe the Most High will answer your prayers, but the reason why you get disenchanted because you always see that your prayers don't get answered. You don't see things going your way, man. And the most part, the reason why is because Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shah is not dealing with you, man, and it's quite obvious. It says, and lose his own soul, because eventually you're going to be put to death, man. And you're going to have a stain on your name. Just like America is going to be a big stain in the world when it's whack-a-mole by 200 million warheads, man. It's going to be deemed the border of wickedness. Continuing, it says, or what shall a man give in exchange for his soul? Right, and you people give everything, man. Lose your manhood, give your children up. Really, the most important thing besides your manhood is your integrity, man. You people have no integrity. And unfortunately, due to the curses, a lot of you are raised without a father, man, to teach you certain things. A lot of you weren't raised or mentored by semi-respectable men, you know. So therefore, you're geared, to be weak in the spirit, man. It says, "Whosoever therefore shall be ashamed of me," and now you're saying that pretty much this truth is a pseudo truth. It's a false truth. No, you're just a false prophet, man. And you got your little expose. It says, "Whosoever therefore shall be ashamed of me and of my words in this adulterous and sinful generation, of him also shall the Son of Man, which is Yahushua, be ashamed when he cometh in the glory of his Father with the holy angels." Right. And he's going to destroy you, man. He's going to treat you as an enemy. And rightfully so. Going to co-pilot, Lashawan Quadash. I'm not going to attempt that. But I'll do the etymology, the word for soul. I want to say the P is silent. Suche, breath, life force, the inner man. World, cosmos, ordered system, which Esau has his ordered system and the Israelites have their ordered system, right? Arrangement, the present world order. Profit, o phileo, to benefit, to gain advantage. So you wanted to gain advantage, man. Why? So you could stunt. Which there's a spirit that comes with that, man. There's a spirit that comes with having money, man. With having luxury items. There's a spirit that comes with it, man. That's why in the scriptures it says, for a rich man to enter into heaven is like a camel going through the eye of a needle. Just because of the spirit that is associated with the rich man. There's no humility. AI commentary, Yahushua cuts straight through the illusion of Babylon's, which we know Babylon, going back to the Lashawan Tahar, Babel means confusion. And modern day Babylon is America. It's the third Babylon. And you want the success of Babylon, which the success of Babylon is waning, man. These Edomites talking about, well, you guys use the white man's money. Well, his money is fiat money. It is really worthless. It's only backed up by the might of his military. And now what's happening on the world stage, these nations are not even dealing with his dollar anymore, which is going to lead to the collapse of the Western world, man. And they don't even see it because the Most High has blinded them. But you simpletons, you reprobates, those that are void of understanding, you still want the last few dregs of this society's success. For what? It says the cosmos offers wealth, status, and power, but none of it can ransom a man's souche, his true life. This is a warning to Israel chasing Esau's world's ends and spiritual bankruptcy, right? You get spiritual bankruptcy, man. So let's go to St. Matthew. Chapter 16, verse 24. It says, "Then said Yahushua to his disciples, if any man will come after me, let him deny himself." So you got to deny yourself. Deny yourself of all your dreams, all your aspirations, what you intend to do. It says, and take up his cross, which your cross goes into the burdens of being in this truth, man. The burdens of suffering in this world. And follow me. You have to follow him. You have to follow his example. It says, for whosoever will save his life by you taking the bag, right, and lose it. Slakia. For for whosoever will save his life shall lose it. So you're going to lose your life, man. And it's going to be real soon, man. You know, and it must start at those that know that they're Israelites or that once knew. And the first step toward Yahweh Shem Yahushua putting you to death is you uh, denouncing the truth. It says, and whosoever will lose his life for my sake shall find it. For what is a man profited if he shall gain the whole world and lose his own soul? Or what shall a man give in exchange for his soul? You know? And I believe one individual said you could buy a nigga for cheap, man. So going back to co-pilot, parallel witness reinforcing the same teaching, right? Because everything runs congruently in the scriptures. There's no private interpretation. Everybody's saying the same thing, right? La Shuan Kodash Ma Ya'ala La Adama Etymology Antalagma exchange price. Commentary, there is no exchange rate where worldly gain can buy back a lost soul. No deal with the world system benefits Yasha'Allah in the end. Right. So it's futile, you know, for you to want to gain riches on this side, man. Now, it's cool if you have a nice car or whatever, but it depends on how you get it, man. The way I got my car, I prayed for it. Most High knew that I was the car I wanted, and somebody else bought it for me, man. And I don't make no payments on it. It's paid off. You know, I don't make zero payments on it, man. The only thing I pay is insurance, right? It says, do not love the world. 1 John chapter 2, verse 15, it says, love the world, neither the things that are in the world. If any man love the world, the love of the Father is not in him. So if you love this world and you want to be a part of this world and you want to have all these followers and you want the luxury items, the Father is not in you, man. You're slotted for destruction. It says, for all that is in the world, the lust, which goes into desires of the flesh, which goes into, the desires in your mind that appease your flesh, the carnality, the sensualism. It says, in the lust of the eyes, you always looking at certain things with big eyes, man. And then it goes into covetousness. You want those things. It says in the pride of life. Yeah, a lot of you love your life. And wait till you niggas start losing your lives, man. And the Most High start making examples. It says it's not of the Father, but is of the world. So those are things that are of the world, man. You have to model yourself as the seven sons, man. They didn't give a shit about selling out, man. They gave a shit about, glorifying Yahweh Shem Yahushai by denying that tyrant, for them to basically disassociate themselves with Yahweh Shem Yahushai. It says, in the world passeth away, and this world is going to pass away with destruction, with thermonuclear destruction. And the lust thereof, all the desires of this world is going to pass away with it, man. But he that doeth the will of the Most High abideth forever. Right, because they're of the elect, man. Right, so going back to co-pilot, it says, love not the world. Skip that. Etymology, epithumia, lust over desire. Commentary, the world is temporal or temporary. The will of Yahweh is eternal. Chasing the world is chasing smoke. And what Jake like to say, you don't want the smoke. So let's go to the Apocrypha. Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 5. And I'm going to go to the Standard KJV, chapter 5, 7, verse 8. It says, we wearied ourselves in the way of wickedness and destruction. And that's 2/3 of our people, man. I was talking to this chick, commenting on her page, uh, trying to blame the so-called Judite man for the hatred of the so-called Judite woman. And really, one thing I told her, I was like, okay, well, even dealing with prostitution, right? If the Judite woman was so friendly to the black man, right? Why is she giving her ass up to all these nations, but will say no AAs? That should tell you something. That should tell you who really has hate for who. You'll give your ass to all these heathen nations, but on your profile, from state to state, from city to city, from town to town, no matter what profile you look at it, 9 times out of 10, it will say no AAs if it's a so-called black woman, man. You know? And that's just on a minuscule level. And yet she wants to be an inspiring rapper. Like, rap is dead already, man. You're not going to come up with bars that haven't already been thought of already, man. Because this kingdom is at its last leg. If there was a percentage, it'll be at 99% about to be destroyed. But yet our people weary themselves in the way of wickedness and destruction. It says, yeah, we have gone through deserts, which is a desert is dry, man. Where there's no truth, because there's no water. It says, where there lay no way, but as for the way of Yahweh Shah, we have not known it. Right. And they don't want to know it, man. Because they're so enthralled by the glamour and the spectacle, the specter, the spectacle of this world, man. It says, what have pride profited us? Or what good have riches with our vaunting brought us? Let's look up that word vaunting. The word vaunt, early 15th century vaunting, speak vainly or proudly, make vain display of one's own worth or attainments. Yeah, man. Flossing. You know, for what? What good has your riches that you flaunt brought you? Because, hey, at the end of the day, you all lose your riches. You all lose your money. And what do you lose your riches and your money to? You lose it to death, right? Going back to Copilot, what have pride profited us? Etymology, euperifania, arrogance, self-exaltation. Commentary, the wicked confess too late that worldly pursuits were empty. This is the future of regret of Israelites who choose Babylon over Yahweh Shah. And the deacon it fits, these scriptures to the T. To the T. And I think the only reason why I even commented on this nigga page because he's trying to say that the Israelite thing is false. We believe in a false entity, and that really pisses me off, man. Anybody say or talk shit about Yahweh Shah really pushes my buttons, man, to the degree that I want to kill you. But at the end of the day, man, this is not our kingdom. As Yahweh Shah said, if it was his kingdom, his servants would fight. I have to understand that this is Esau's blessing. This is the last leg, the last few seconds of his blessing. So let him have it, man. You know, because this is going to be all downhill from there. This is the book of Sirach or Ecclesiasticus, chapter 11, verse 18. It says, there is that waxeth rich by his wariness and pinching. And this is the portion of his reward. Whereas he saith, I have found rest, and now will eat continually of my goods. And this is like niggas like Andrew Tate and, Myron Gaines, which I don't believe Myron Gaines is an Israelite. I believe he's a Hamite, man, in the spirit, man. It says, and yet he knoweth not what time shall come upon him, and that he must leave those things to others and die. Yeah, because they could die just like Kyle Busch, man. A great NASCAR driver died at 41 years old, man. Just like that. And these niggas don't take account that you could die any second, man. And then you have to answer for all your hubris. Going to Copilot says, he saith, I have found rest, yet he knoweth not what time shall come. Etymology, ano pao, to rest, to settle. Commentary, a man builds wealth thinking he's secure. And all these people that build their wealth into the hundreds of millions, they think that they're secure, man. It says, but judgment interrupts his plans. Look at my man Paul Walker, man. He was having a good old time, man, after the car show, racing, his Porsche Spider. And he ended up getting wrapped in a tree, man. They hit a Hellfire missile on him. One of the two. His death involves a lot of conspiracy, but nonetheless, he's dead. It says riches cannot negotiate with death. And that's what these niggas think that they could do, man. Really, the whole thing is they know that they're wicked. They know that the Most High is going to destroy them. So they want to get their little rocks off while they can, not to be too vulgar, but that good feeling, the dopamine hit, man. Because that's what happens when you get your rocks off. You get a dopamine released, right? This is St. Luke chapter 12, verse 15. And he said unto them, take heed and beware of covetousness. For a man's life consisteth not in the abundance of the things which he possesseth. Right. And these stupid niggas think that, man. They call you a brokey. They tell you to get you. I got all these millions. And then they say, I don't really spend them because they like to hoard up shit, thinking that's being more nobler. No, man, the Most High is going to kill each and every last one of you, man, especially the ones that had curses put on, man. Even Myron Gaines, man, I put a curse on that nigga, man, and he's all faltering, man. He's being, what do you call, made to look as a fool by certain guests on his podcast now, man. Because the jig is up, man. It says, and he spake a parable unto them, saying, the ground of a certain rich man brought forth plentiful. And he thought within himself, saying, what shall I do, because I have no room where to bestow my fruits? And he said, this will I do. I will pull down my barns and build greater, and there will I bestow all my fruits and my goods. And I will say to my soul, soul, thou hast much goods laid up for many years. Take thy ease, eat, drink, and be merry. And this is the mind state of a lot of you niggas, man. That got a little paper. But the Most High said unto him, thou fool, this night thy soul shall be required of thee. So you don't never know when Yahweh Shem Yahushua is going to require your fucking life, man. you know. And I said it like that because you're a wretch, a lot of you, man. Now if you have riches and you're helping the church and you're a believer, then that's a different thing. But if you have riches and you're denouncing the church and you're boasting and proud, the Most High is going to require your soul, man. It says, then who shall these things be? It's like it, then who shall those things be which thou hast provided? So is he that layeth up treasure for himself and is not rich toward the Most High. Right. Going back to co-pilot, the parable of the rich fool. Lashwan Kodash, na pa, na pash, soul life person. Commentary, Yahushua calls a man a fool because he invested in barns, not his soul. Babylon, which is America, trains men to store grain while starving spiritually, because it's built upon capitalistic principles, which is totally unrighteous. And one of the reasons why this place is going to be destroyed, man. This is Job chapter 27, verse 8. For what is the hope of the hypocrite, though he have gained, when the Most High taketh away his soul? Right. Going back to co-pilot, what is the hope of the hypocrite when Yahweh taketh away his soul? Etymology, kawa, expectation, hope. Commentary, when the soul is required, worldly gain becomes irrelevant. Judgment becomes, it's like a judgment exposes the emptiness of a carnal ambition. And we're gonna start seeing a lot of judgment being passed this year, as we already have. This is Proverbs chapter 11, verse 4. It says, riches profit not in the day of wrath, but righteousness deliver from death. So we already got the upper hand, man. We're storing our riches with merit, which merit means spiritual credit. But then they're storing their riches in carnally, thinking that's what's going to save them, man, and it's not going to save them. It has never saved anybody. Riches profit not in the day of wrath. Etymology, Tazadakia, righteousness, judgment, justice, right standing. Money cannot bribe Yahweh. Only righteousness delivers. The day of wrath is the great equalizer. And the equalizer ain't no Denzel Washington, man, even though those were some good movies, man. Second Ezra chapter 7. And I'm going to end it on this. So I got to get ready to go to work. And I got a ways to drive. But I prayed that the Most High put the spirit on me to do a video before I leave. And it looks like I'm going to have time to finish it. So this is Second Ezra chapter 7, verse 20. It says, for there be many that perish in this life because they despise the law of the Most High that is set before them. For the Most High have given straight commandment to such as came, straight going into a path of difficulty, where you have to follow that straight, that difficult line, because it's difficult when you're in a world that is filled with vibrating wickedness, wicked vibrations. You got to maintain your integrity. It says what they should do to live, even as they came, and what they should observe to avoid punishment. Nevertheless, they were not obedient unto him, but spake against him, and imagined vain things, and deceived themselves by their wicked deeds, and said of the Most High that he is not. And this is Deacon Jackoff, man. All on Instagram talking his bullshit and knew not his ways. He never knew the Most High's ways. You know, back when I came into the truth, when he was with the Hebrew, what they call that nigga, and his name is so stained that even people that you know that are not even in the truth know that he's a peg Hebrew, man. A lot of you niggas like getting popped in your ass, man, by your woman. Even that white boy Down Earthly, he liked getting popped by a tranny, a black tranny, a transformer. Can't make it up, man. It says, but his law have they despised and denied his covenants, and his statutes have they not been faithful and have not performed his works. Right? It says, and therefore Ezra is for the empty are empty things, and for the fool are the fool things. Behold, the time shall come that these tokens, which are signs, which I have told thee, shall come to pass, and the bride shall appear, which the bride is the elect, and she coming forth shall be seen that now is withdrawn from the earth, because they're going to be taken into the ships. And whosoever is delivered from the foresaid evil shall see my wonders. Right. So going back to co-pilot says, many perish because they despise the law of the Most High. Etymology despise, contendo, to treat as worthless, you know? And all you niggas that fell back into the world and stopped doing the work, you follow this category, commentary, when really the Most High ain't dealing with you, man. You know? That's pretty much what it is, man. You know? Because hey, sometimes you could be in that Jeremiah spirit where, oh man, I'm not gonna do the work. I'm not gonna speak the words. But then the Most High is gonna still put the spirit on you to do it, man. You know, it says men lose their souls not by accident, but by despising the path to life. Choosing the world is choosing destruction. And that's the deacon, man. So synthesis, Mark 8 and 36 is not a poetic warning. It is a judgment formula. To gain the world is to invest in a collapsing system. To lose the soul is to forfeit the only thing Yahushua came to redeem. Yasharallah must choose temporary Babylonian gain or eternal life in Yahushua. You know, and I'm going to end it off that, man. So with that, I hope at least one brother of the elect was edified, and I'm going to say, Shalom.